What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Huddle Chat Sports Network's very own Fantasy Football Huddle, presented by Danklyfe brand, and yours truly, as always, Dallas Clark. Today, we're going to be discussing a little bit about what happened in Week 6, going over some of the injuries, as well as talking about the players you should be adding to your roster right now going into Week 7. And if you stay tuned to the end of the video, I'm going to give you some players that are okay to drop the cut list for this week going into Week 7. So make sure you stay tuned, and if you haven't yet, hit that like button as well as that subscriptions bar so you always stay notified on when new content is coming your way. And if you're listening on our new platform on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow button and try to come out over to the mothership sometime over here on YouTube and hit that subscriptions bar so you can always see the graphics and things that we have up here. I know it's hard to spend a whole video looking at this face for that long, but I promise you guys it's going to be worth it. So without further ado, let's fill up our cups, roll something up, and get right into the news. The first news that we're going to be discussing going into this Week 7 waiver wire episode is going to be the injuries that were suffered that were very fantasy relevant. The first one being on Thursday Night Football, we saw Jordan Mason suffer a AC shoulder sprain, similar to what happened to Anthony Richardson last year, just not as bad. Who will know if he misses time at this point? We're going to have to wait to hear a little bit more about him in the coming weeks, but it looks like he was okay to come back. But then after missing the rest of the game, after coming back after one carry, I don't really know how you can expect Jordan Mason to not. If he does play, Jordan Mason may at least be on a limited snap count, so it may be hard to trust Jordan Mason. So keep an eye on that Jordan Mason injury. Another one was Travis Etienne coming into the game with a shoulder injury, now having a hamstring strain, which will open up Tank Bigsby a little bit as well. We're going to talk about him a little bit later in the episode. But you're looking at Travis Etienne staying in London next week, playing against the New England Patriots. So we're going to see if Travis Etienne can play, but I think that Travis Etienne will probably be out this week, as will Dallas Goedert, coming out with the hamstring injury as well. There was a lot of hamstrings. I don't think anybody stretched going into Week 6, because you're looking at Travis Etienne, Dallas Goedert, and Jerome Ford all going down with hamstring strains this week, all not coming back into their respective games. And then you had a couple of concussions. I know Joe Burrow had a concussion scare on Sunday Night Football, but he was okay by the end of it. You're looking at Chris Olave having a concussion after putting up negative points, so you literally could have put somebody in like Justin Jefferson that was on their bye week last week, and they would have got more points than Chris Olave. I know it's not a joke with the concussion and everything like that. We hope Chris Olave is okay. We will see if he can come back next week, but I just do not know if he can, just due to the fact that there is 5 steps to the concussion protocol. He may not have enough time to get cleared by Sunday. You're also looking at Mike Evans leaving the game on Sunday, but he did come back into the game, but got shut down by Marshawn Lattimore, as we all thought he would. Marvin Harrison Jr. went out with the concussion. I think he might be out for a week as well. And keep an eye on Trey McBride. He landed really hard towards the end of the game on his quad knee area. So you're looking at him favoring it for a lot of the rest of the game. So we're going to have to see if he does miss any time, or if it does kind of bring him down, handicap him a little bit going into Week 7. You're also looking at Jaden Reed suffering a ankle injury this week, as well as Dontavian Wicks on the same offense suffering a shoulder injury. And then it just happened to be the same time Christian Watson came back. He had the touchdown. Christian Watson, who is going to be the first player that we talk about going into the waiver wire must-adds, is going to be a big add this week. But like I said, with the Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, we don't know exactly yet until probably tomorrow or Wednesday on what the injury report is going to be looking like and if they're going to be missing any time. But Christian Watson is instantly elevated. And with that being said, make sure you check us out on Sundays. We do a live stream on Sunday, 9:30 Mountain Standard Time, 11:30 Eastern Time in the morning on Sunday, giving you a nice NFL pregame kickoff show. I give you some lineup advice, some injury news, as well as some parlays that might possibly pay your rent this month. So make sure you tune in on Sunday. I cannot wait to see you there. Let's move into the first player like we were just talking about, Christian Watson. He's only rostered in 45% of leagues at the current moment. You're looking at him playing Houston in Week 7, and this Houston secondary has been susceptible to wide receivers going on big games in fantasy football against them this season. You're looking at Christian Watson, though, being the absolute definition of the most frustrating fantasy football player you can have. You have three possible outcomes, and there's no in between. He's either injured and not playing. He's either playing and playing well, or he's playing and just, is he even on the damn field? You can't find him when you're watching Packers games. He's the definition of frustration. You don't know when to start him, and when you don't start him, he just goes ballistic. When you do start him, he puts up 2 points in a PPR league, and it just makes you absolutely frustrated. But it sounds like I'm talking against Christian Watson. I've kind of gotten off the Christian Watson train, but I do think that he should be rostered in much more than 45% of leagues this week. You're looking at him being a good wide receiver. You're looking at him not being injured coming in to this week 7 matchup, and you're looking at the other wide receivers around him being a little banged up this week as well. So you got to be honest, he's got a decent ceiling, and I would reinvest in Christian Watson at this point, especially if you need help at the wide receiver position. Another wide receiver I want to discuss today is Josh Downs from the Indianapolis Colts. This is week 3 that we're talking about Josh Downs, and we're up to 49%. So Josh Downs will most likely not be on this episode again in the near future. He's got a very good floor for the last 3 weeks, even with Michael Pittman Jr., who apparently is not hurt anymore, playing this week. You're looking at Josh Downs being the most targeted wide receiver, the most consistent wide receiver, and the wide receiver with the most receptions in this Indianapolis Colts offense. Anthony Richardson loves Josh Downs. They have an amazing chemistry, and Josh Downs will get open. He does the hard work. He does the dirty, grimy work that a wide receiver can do for a quarterback and get open and just make life easy for Anthony Richardson. You're looking at Anthony Richardson most likely being back in week 7, and then whether it's Anthony Richardson or whether he takes an early exit at some point and Joe Flacco comes in, you're looking at Josh Downs having a really good floor, and that makes me want to at least put him in my flex position. Before we move on, I want to make sure to ask you guys to smash that like button if you haven't yet, and drop in the comments below. Let me know if you have any lineup advice, any early week advice that you need in your lineup, and any trade advice. We have the trade analyzer episode coming out in the next couple of days, as well as the startums and situms. So make sure you stay tuned by hitting that subscriptions bar, as well as that notifications bell. Now, moving on into the first running back we're going to be discussing is going to be Tank Bigsby from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's clearly better than Travis Etienne, and as I talked about opening this episode up, Travis Etienne is hurt right now. Game script was miserable for the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Chicago Bears this past week, so you're looking at the running for the Jacksonville Jaguars just never really getting the opportunity to get going. At the end of the day, plain and simple, Tank Bigsby has been good this year, and Travis Etienne has not been, and he's hurt coming into this game. So staying in London, this looks like this might be Tank's backfield this week, and I like Tank to start in my flex or even my running back too, depending on the injuries that you have, because I know we had a lot last week, but we have a couple of people coming back this week. So hopefully you don't need Tank Bigsby in your running back too, but I think he will put up at least running back 2 production for you this week against New England. Speaking of New England and that Jacksonville Jaguars game in London, I'm adding Demario Douglas right now, who's only added in 17% of leagues. At the end of the day, I know that Patriots offense is miserable. I know that they're not the same Patriots that we've all been used to for the last 2+ decades, but Demario Douglas is the most consistent with targets and receptions in this New England Patriots offense. You're looking at Drake May getting the start this week, and he looked really good this week. So you're looking at Demario Douglas potentially getting a big uptick in significant target share because the fact that they're getting better quarterback play from Drake May. And you also pay attention to how many targets Demario Douglas got in this past week. It seems that he is going to be kind of a safety blanket for this young rookie quarterback. And so I think Demario Douglas being the highest target share owner in this New England Patriots offense, and he's the Pats wide receiver that we were the most excited for going into the season, and we all knew the Patriots offense was going to be terrible, if not worse than it already is. You look at Demario Douglas having a safe floor, and at this point in the season, if you're 2-4, 1-5, you need to be as risk averse as possible and swing for the fences, but at the same time, and Demario Douglas definitely can be a great game-changing addition to your fantasy football roster by week 7. The last player I want to talk about, we have to end everything with a tight end. I know that it's impossible to figure out tight end production, but I'm trying as hard as I can for everybody, and this is my answer for this week. Jonnu Smith from the Miami Dolphins. You're looking at the Dolphins coming off the bye week, and the week before that, he had a season-high 8 targets and pretty decent production for what you're getting out of tight ends this season. Also, a quick point of mention, you're looking at Cole Kmet scoring those 2 touchdowns early on Sunday morning. You're looking at George Kittle scoring those 2 touchdowns on Thursday Night Football. I think the strike might be over. Tight ends might have decided to start playing football, so now's the time to lock in a solid addition. I think Jonnu Smith can be that guy. He's getting involved in this offense. He's only rostered in 2% of leagues right now. You're looking at Tua Tagovailoa coming back in week 8, so his target share and his target quality is only going to get better. Plus, he benefits from the fact that defenses are trying to stop Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill from doing anything they can. So Jonnu Smith is the main beneficiary of that. Get him right now before he has another good week and Tua comes back and the Dolphins offense, all of a sudden people want a piece of it again. Now, as I promised you at the beginning of the episode, we're going to be discussing a few players that you can go ahead and drop at this point. At this point, it's safe to say you can drop Dontavion Wicks. I know he was a big, high addition, but I don't think you're going to be able to get anything for Dontavion Wicks. He's coming off the injury, and it's so damn impossible to figure out which Green Bay Packers wide receiver is going to be the main target shareholder, or if that Green Bay Packers wide receiver is going to be involved at all in the game that week. By chance, I think that the Dontavion Wicks experiment is over. So I'm taking Dontavion Wicks off my roster completely. I'm also going to be getting out of Juwan Jennings. Everybody's back. CMC might even be coming back. Juwan Jennings, we had his fun. He was hot for a minute, and that minute has passed. I'm done with Juwan Jennings. We can get rid of him. Jerome Ford, suffering the injury. Nick Chubb's on his way back. Even if Nick Chubb is getting eased in and they're splitting carries, I don't think I want a part. I don't even want Deontay Foreman on my team. So I'm getting rid of Jerome Ford, unless you can maybe finagle a trade. And you're not going to get anything special in this trade. You're going to be taking whatever you can get off of somebody's roster in case they're really desperate at the running back position. But that's the only option you're going to get for Jerome Ford. Otherwise, you can get rid of him. Unless you're in a deep league or a super flex league, you can get rid of Geno Smith. I know we all thought Geno was going to be dope this year. I know he started to look like he was going to be dope, and the yardage has been there for Geno, but he's thrown 6 touchdowns, and it's been 6 touchdowns, 1 in each game that we've had this season, and it's just not translating into fantasy football numbers yet this year, and it's not working out. Go ahead and get a better quarterback. There has to be one out on the waiver wires. I'm also getting rid of Cam Akers if you haven't already. Joe Mixon is back, and if the last week proved anything to you, that's Joe Mixon's backfield. There's no need to take Cam Akers unless you have Joe Mixon and you want to have the safety blanket. And staying with the Houston Texans, Dalton Schultz has got to go as well. We all thought he was good last year, and we thought that they might continue to feed him, but there are too many mouths to feed. If we're expecting Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and potentially Tank Dell to be getting points, there's nowhere for Dalton Schultz to fit in, so I'm getting rid of him off my roster as soon as I can. That's going to be it for today's episode and the Week 7 waiver wire special. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button if you haven't yet, and keep your chin up and your attitude down, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.